Welcome back to the Mind Shelf. We often find ourselves in a frustrating loop, repeating the same mistakes, learning the same lessons over and over again. It's like life is playing the same song on repeat, and we're stuck dancing to a beat we don't like. But what if you only had to learn a lesson once? What if there were fundamental truths that once absorbed could change the entire trajectory of your life forever? Today we're talking about just that. I'm sharing 333 life lessons to learn. Ones that will improve your life for good. Let's break the cycle and build a better future. Your mindset shapes your reality. When you embrace this, you begin to see opportunities instead of obstacles. Failure is feedback, not the end. The moment you realize this, you'll learn faster and fear less. Consistency matters more than bursts of motivation. As soon as you grasp this, you'll achieve long-term goals steadily. Gratitude transforms your outlook. When you practice this, you'll feel happier and attract more blessings. Discipline leads to freedom. Once this sinks in, you'll control your life instead of being controlled by impulses. The way you speak to yourself matters. When you finally see this, you'll build self-confidence and emotional strength. Success is built from daily habits. As you internalize this, you'll focus on small wins that add up to greatness. Waiting for perfect conditions holds you back. When you accept this truth, you'll start moving forward despite uncertainty. Knowledge without action is useless. When you understand this deeply, you'll apply what you learn and see results. Growth happens outside your comfort zone. As soon as you embrace this, you'll welcome challenges instead of avoiding them. You become like the people you spend time with. The day you grasp this, you'll choose your circle wisely. Comparison robs your joy. When this becomes clear, you'll celebrate your own progress instead of envying others. Time is your most valuable currency. Once you truly accept this, you'll spend it on what truly matters. Rejection is redirection. When you believe this, you'll stop fearing it and start seeking opportunities. Learning never stops. The moment you live by this, you'll grow continuously and stay adaptable. Your thoughts shape your emotions. As you embrace this truth, you'll manage stress and find peace more easily. Small steps create big change. When you realize this, you'll stay consistent instead of waiting for huge leaps. Loving yourself is essential. As soon as you understand this, you'll set healthier boundaries and attract better relationships. Change begins with one decision. Once this clicks for you, you'll stop waiting and start acting. Curiosity fuels growth. When you start living by this, you'll ask better questions and discover more opportunities. Complaining changes nothing. When you accept this, you'll take action instead of making excuses. Confidence comes from doing hard things. When you live this, fear loses its grip on you. Doubt kills more dreams than failure. The moment you believe this, you'll stop self-sabotaging. Being busy is not the same as being productive. When this sinks in, you'll focus on what truly matters. Patience is a competitive advantage. When you develop this, success becomes more sustainable. Comfort zones feel safe but stunt growth. When you break free, you'll discover your true potential. Mindfulness turns chaos into clarity. When you practice it, life feels lighter and calmer. You can learn something from everyone. Once you see this, arrogance fades and wisdom grows. You are not your past. When you believe this, your future opens wide. Perfectionism is procrastination in disguise. When you admit this, you'll finally start. Focus on what you can control. When you do this, you reclaim your power. Saying no is an act of self-care. When you master this, your life aligns with your values. Your energy introduces you before you speak. When you realize this, you'll cultivate positivity within. Not every opinion matters. When you accept this, criticism won't derail you. The best investment is in yourself. When you commit to this, your opportunities multiply. Rest is not laziness. When you understand this, you'll stop burning out. Fear often means you're on the right track. When you recognize this, you'll chase growth over comfort. Life rewards action, not intention. When you live this, dreams turn into reality. Forgiveness frees you. When you practice it, resentment loses its power over you. Perspective changes everything. When you adjust it, problems shrink and gratitude grows. Growth requires discomfort. When you accept this, you'll stop avoiding hard things. Consuming less creates room for meaning. When you do this, life feels lighter. Knowledge is wasted without humility. When you embody this, you become wise, not arrogant. Intentional living beats drifting. When you choose this, your life gains clarity and direction. Gratitude is contagious. When you express it, relationships thrive. Asking for help shows strength, not weakness. When you see this, you'll grow faster. Self-discipline is self-respect. When you practice it, your confidence rises. Sacrifices today build freedom tomorrow. When you accept this, you'll endure temporary discomfort. Not deciding is also a decision. When you realize this, you'll choose consciously. Mistakes are proof you're trying. When you embrace this, failure no longer paralyzes you. You teach people how to treat you. When you set boundaries, respect follows. Boredom often precedes creativity. When you allow it, great ideas emerge. Self-awareness is a superpower. When you cultivate it, your relationships and choices improve. Jealousy reveals what you desire. When you decode it, you'll find clarity in your goals. Who you are off camera matters most. When you honor this, your integrity stays intact. Simplicity often leads to happiness. When you embrace it, life feels less overwhelming. Comparison to your past self is healthy. When you practice it, growth becomes visible. You cannot heal in the same environment that broke you. When you accept this, you'll seek better surroundings. Habits are destiny in disguise. When you respect this, you'll shape a future you love. Courage comes before confidence. When you act on this, bravery builds self-belief. Your body is your first home. When you care for it, everything else in life becomes easier. Sleep is non-negotiable for high performance. When you prioritize it, your mind and mood improve. Movement is medicine. When you treat it as such, you feel younger and more alive. What you eat affects how you think. When you honor this, clarity and energy follow. Dehydration hides as fatigue. When you stay hydrated, you regain focus and vitality. Stress is inevitable. Burnout is optional. When you manage stress early, you protect your health. Fresh air heals. When you spend time outside, your mind resets naturally. Laughter lightens the load. When you allow more of it, life feels joyful even during challenges. Prevention beats cure. When you get regular checkups, you catch issues before they grow. Breathing deeply is free therapy. When you practice it, anxiety eases and calm returns. Digital detox restores your brain. When you unplug, you reconnect with yourself. Strength training strengthens your mind too. When you build your body, confidence grows. Sugar steals energy. When you reduce it, your mood and focus stabilize. Morning light boosts your circadian rhythm. When you seek it, you sleep and wake better. Posture affects mood. When you stand tall, your confidence rises instantly. Rest days are productive. When you take them, your body repairs and grows. Walks solve problems. When you step outside, solutions often find you. Mental health deserves daily care. When you tend to it, resilience grows. Overwork diminishes returns. When you pause, your productivity doubles later. Food is fuel, not just pleasure. When you see it this way, you nourish your future self. Gut health shapes mental health. When you protect it, you think clearer and feel better. Early bedtime is a life hack. When you embrace it, mornings feel lighter. Nature calms chaos. When you immerse yourself in it, your nervous system resets. Joyful movement counts as exercise. When you dance, play, or hike, you'll stick with it. Multitasking drains energy. When you single task, you feel less scattered. Silence is restorative. When you seek quiet, your thoughts organize themselves. Overstimulation steals peace. When you limit screens, you reclaim calm. Nourish before you numb. When you choose self-care over self-destruction, healing happens. Your future health depends on today. When you respect this, you'll make better choices. A strong body supports a strong mind. When you build both, life feels lighter. Boundaries are bridges, not walls. When you set them, love becomes healthier. Not everyone deserves access to you. When you accept this, you stop overgiving. Listening is love in action. When you truly listen, people feel seen. You can't change people, you can only inspire them. When you learn this, relationships improve. Empathy opens doors. When you practice it, even conflicts soften. Healthy love feels peaceful, not chaotic. When you trust this, you stop chasing drama. People show you who they are. Believe them. When you accept this, you avoid repeated pain. Quality beats quantity in friendships. When you focus on depth, connection becomes meaningful. You teach others how to treat you. When you enforce respect, your relationships thrive. Gossip weakens trust. When you avoid it, your reputation strengthens. Apologies mean little without changed behavior. When you see this, you'll trust actions over words. Choose partners who align with your values. When you do, love becomes easier. Let people go without bitterness. When you release gracefully, peace stays with you. Be interested, not just interesting. When you practice curiosity, your social bonds grow. Criticism reveals more about them than you. When you understand this, hurt fades faster. A calm response ends many arguments. When you master this, you gain emotional power. Celebrate others' wins. When you do, jealousy disappears. Love languages matter. When you learn them, connection deepens. Distance tests relationships. When it survives, bonds grow stronger. Time is the real gift in relationships. When you give it, you build trust and love. Forgiveness doesn't require reconciliation. When you learn this, you protect your peace. Jealousy fades with gratitude. When you appreciate your life, envy dissolves. Anger often hides hurt. When you see this, compassion grows. Some people are lessons, not lifers. When you accept this, letting go gets easier. The best relationships allow individuality. When you honor this, love feels liberating. Honest conversations prevent silent resentments. When you have them, relationships heal. Respect outlasts attraction. When you prioritize it, love becomes sustainable. Shared laughter is relationship glue. When you laugh often, bonds deepen. Your vibe attracts your tribe. When you improve yourself, better people arrive. Love yourself first. When you do, you teach others how to love you properly. Money is a tool, not the goal. When you treat it as a tool, you use it wisely. Spend less than you earn. When you master this, wealth grows naturally. Savings are freedom. When you save consistently, you buy yourself options. Debt steals peace. When you manage or avoid it, life feels lighter. Compounding favors patience. When you invest early, time does the heavy lifting. Lifestyle inflation traps you. When you resist it, wealth accelerates. Needs and wants are different. When you learn the difference, financial stress shrinks. Financial literacy pays forever. When you study it, you make smarter decisions. Emergency funds prevent panic. When you build one, setbacks feel manageable. Budgeting is awareness, not punishment. When you track money, you control it. Avoid chasing status with spending. When you live simply, you stay rich in peace. Multiple income streams reduce risk. When you build them, you gain stability. Big purchases need cooling off time. When you wait, you make fewer regrets. Learn to negotiate. When you do, you save and earn more. Money reveals character. When you share it wisely, you leave a better impact. Don't compare your finances. When you focus on your lane, growth feels satisfying. Generosity builds wealth of spirit. When you give, you feel abundant. Delayed gratification builds riches. When you master it, future you thanks present you. Learn taxes. When you understand them, you keep more of what you earn. Financial independence is freedom. When you aim for it, your choices expand. Skills pay the bills. When you keep learning, your value increases. Your network is your net worth. When you nurture it, opportunities multiply. Work ethic beats talent. When you show up consistently, you win long term. Be so good they can't ignore you. When you excel, doors open on their own. Never stop learning. When you grow, you future-proof your career. Ask better questions. When you do, you stand out and gain insight. Good mentors save you years. When you find them, you leap ahead. Feedback is a gift. When you accept it, you improve faster. Burnout kills careers. When you balance work and rest, you last longer. Your reputation is your resume. When you protect it, opportunities follow you. Adaptability beats rigidity. When you evolve, you stay relevant. Value your time. When you learn to say no, you protect your energy. Office politics exist. When you observe first, you play smarter. Document your wins. When you keep records, you negotiate confidently. People hire energy as much as skills. When you bring positivity, you become magnetic. Take initiative. When you step up, you get noticed. Don't wait for perfect. Start now. When you act, opportunities compound. Learn to sell. When you master persuasion, you influence and earn more. Build something on the side. When you diversify, you gain security. Humility opens more doors than arrogance. When you stay humble, collaboration thrives. Success leaves clues. When you study those ahead of you, you shorten your path. Small habits beat big bursts. When you stay consistent, results come. Clarity is power. When you know what you want, decisions get easier. Progress matters more than perfection. When you focus on progress, you keep momentum. Failure teaches what success hides. When you embrace it, you grow wiser. Winners are learners. When you see setbacks as lessons, you keep improving. Comparison kills joy. When you focus on your race, you run faster. Morning routines set the tone. When you own your mornings, you win your days. Discipline equals freedom. When you build it, success becomes predictable. Consistency outlasts motivation. When you show up daily, success compounds. Think long-term. When you zoom out, short-term struggles feel smaller. Celebrate small wins. When you do, you fuel your journey. Stay curious. When you explore new ideas, opportunities appear. Define success for yourself. When you do, you stop chasing the wrong things. Resilience beats luck. When you persist, breakthroughs happen. Plan but stay flexible. When you adjust, you avoid frustration. Environment shapes success. When you surround yourself with winners, you level up. Focus is a superpower. When you protect it, you achieve more in less time. Fear signals growth. When you step into it, life expands. Your actions define you. When you take responsibility, you own your destiny. Life feels lighter when you forgive. When you release grudges, your soul heals. Peace is found in acceptance. When you let go of control, serenity arrives. Happiness is internal. When you stop chasing it outside, you find it within. Listen more than you speak. When you truly listen, people open up. Not all battles are worth fighting. When you choose wisely, you preserve peace. Change starts inside. When you work on yourself, your world shifts. Patience prevents regret. When you wait, you see things clearly. Your thoughts shape your reality. When you think positively, your life reflects it. Gratitude multiplies joy. When you count blessings, happiness grows. Problems are teachers. When you look for the lesson, you grow wiser. Ego blocks connection. When you drop it, relationships flourish. Every person has a story. When you seek to understand, compassion rises. Kindness is never wasted. When you act with love, you plant seeds of good. Simplicity brings clarity. When you declutter, your mind breathes. Life is short. When you live intentionally, you make it meaningful. Judging blinds you. When you stay curious, you learn more. Pain passes. When you endure it, growth follows. Acceptance doesn't mean giving up. When you accept reality, you gain power to act. Control your reactions. When you do, you control your peace. Your energy attracts your tribe. When you shine light, you draw the right people. Focus on what matters. When you simplify, you gain freedom. True wealth is peace of mind. When you cultivate it, you feel rich. Life's hardest seasons build you. When you endure, your strength multiplies. Words carry power. When you choose them carefully, you shape your world. Time is your most valuable currency. When you spend it well, you live fully. Regret fades with action. When you try, you avoid what-ifs. Everything is temporary. When you remember this, you appreciate more. Your mindset defines your future. When you think bigger, life expands. Comparison hides blessings. When you focus inward, you find enough. Detachment brings freedom. When you let go, you suffer less. You don't need everyone's approval. When you validate yourself, you feel whole. Adversity shows true friends. When you struggle, you see who stays. Self-awareness is growth's foundation. When you know yourself, you evolve faster. Silence teaches. When you pause, answers appear. Learning never ends. When you stay open, wisdom finds you. Not everyone will understand you. When you accept that, you feel lighter. Problems shrink when faced. When you act, fear dissolves. Gratitude turns little into enough. When you practice it, joy flows. Your beliefs shape your limits. When you challenge them, you grow. Joy is found in moments. When you slow down, you notice life's gifts. Don't fear failure, fear regret. When you act, you gain either success or wisdom. Everything happens for a reason. When you trust the process, peace follows. People come and go. When you accept it, you cherish the present. Beauty fades, character lasts. When you nurture it, you age gracefully. Life is fragile. When you live with awareness, you value each day. Problems often hide blessings. When you dig deeper, you discover growth. Forgiveness frees you, not them. When you let go, you heal inside. Expect less, appreciate more. When you do, your heart stays light. You can't change the past. When you focus forward, you reclaim your power. Self-love isn't selfish. When you practice it, you overflow with love for others. Laughter heals. When you find humor, pain softens. True wisdom is humility. When you admit you don't know, you learn more. Your vibe speaks before words. When you radiate positivity, opportunities notice. Nothing lasts forever. When you savor the now, life feels richer. Happiness is simple. When you stop overcomplicating, you find it everywhere. Pain is part of love. When you accept it, you love more deeply. Joy is contagious. When you spread it, the world brightens. Life rewards courage. When you take bold steps, doors open. Fear lies. When you act despite it, freedom comes. Kindness returns multiplied. When you give it freely, blessings chase you. Trust takes time. When you nurture it, relationships deepen. Respect yourself first. When you do, others follow. Your perspective creates your world. When you shift it, everything changes. Life mirrors your thoughts. When you focus on gratitude, beauty shows up. Time heals most wounds. When you allow it, scars fade into strength. Less is more. When you embrace simplicity, joy amplifies. Curiosity keeps you young. When you explore, you stay alive inside. True freedom is inner peace. When you find it, nothing can control you. Change is life's constant. When you embrace it, you flow with grace. Your story can inspire. When you share it, someone finds hope. Your soul knows the way. When you listen, life feels aligned. Faith is strength. When you trust deeply, storms don't shake you. Love is the ultimate purpose. When you give it, you feel complete. Inner peace is success. When you nurture it, you win at life. Prayer calms the heart. When you connect, peace flows. Gratitude is worship. When you practice it, your soul lights up. Forgiveness is sacred. When you offer it, love expands. Love yourself as God does. When you do, you see your worth. Stillness reveals truth. When you sit quietly, wisdom whispers. Your purpose is love in action. When you live it, you touch lives. Service brings joy. When you help others, you feel alive. Every day is a gift. When you wake with gratitude, life feels holy. Faith turns fear into courage. When you trust, you rise. Your spirit shines brightest in trials. When you endure, you inspire. God works in mysterious ways. When you trust His timing, you find peace. Your light is needed. When you share it, darkness fades. Spiritual growth is lifelong. When you stay open, you evolve endlessly. Love outlives you. When you give it, your legacy grows. Kindness is divine. When you live it, you honor God. Faith is action, not just belief. When you live it, miracles follow. Life tests refine you. When you trust the process, you shine. You are never alone. When you look deeper, love surrounds you. Purpose is discovered in service. When you give, you find meaning. Heaven begins in the heart. When you love deeply, you experience it now. Peace comes from surrender. When you let go, grace enters. Miracles exist. When you stay open, you see them daily. Faith grows through storms. When you hold on, you emerge stronger. Love is the answer. When you choose it, conflicts dissolve. Humility invites grace. When you walk humbly, blessings overflow. Eternal life starts with love now. When you love, you live forever in others' hearts. You're part of something bigger. When you serve, you feel connected. Faith moves mountains. When you believe, doors open. Pain births compassion. When you suffer, your heart expands. Gratitude brings heaven to earth. When you thank, joy floods in. Your life is a testimony. When you live authentically, others are inspired. Every act of love echoes forever. When you love, you leave a mark. Forgiveness reflects God's heart. When you forgive, love heals. Your soul craves meaning. When you seek it, you feel whole. Death isn't the end. When you love deeply, your impact remains. Your faith can light others. When you shine, others find hope. Love is the highest wisdom. When you lead with it, you never lose. Peace is a daily choice. When you choose it, chaos shrinks. Every day holds purpose. When you live mindfully, meaning grows. Your heart knows truth. When you trust it, you find clarity. God's timing is perfect. When you wait, life aligns beautifully. Heaven is love remembered. When you live with love, you carry eternity now. Hope is a superpower. When you nurture it, miracles unfold. You are love's vessel. When you give, you fulfill your mission. Faith makes the impossible possible. When you believe, limits vanish. Love transforms pain. When you embrace it, wounds heal. Legacy is built daily. When you live with love, you leave impact. You plant trees of shade you'll never sit under. When you serve, future lives thrive. Greatness is serving others. When you help, you rise. Your soul seeks love, not applause. When you love, you feel complete. Life is a prayer. When you live with gratitude, it's holy. Fear fades in faith. When you trust, courage grows. Your actions echo in eternity. When you love, you live on. What you give returns. When you sow kindness, you reap joy. Your words are seeds. When you speak life, beauty grows. Love bridges all divides. When you lead with compassion, unity blooms. True power is love. When you wield it, you heal. Service is worship. When you give, you honor God. Peace begins with you. When you embody it, the world shifts. Love your neighbor as yourself. When you practice this, harmony thrives. Your soul craves connection. When you nurture it, loneliness fades. Gratitude turns ordinary to sacred. When you give thanks, life glows. You're made for love. When you embrace it, you fulfill your calling. Forgiveness restores joy. When you let go, your heart feels light. Kindness heals wounds. When you offer it, hearts soften. Compassion is strength. When you show it, you elevate humanity. Faith fuels purpose. When you believe, you persist. Love is your legacy. When you give it freely, you never die. Joy is spiritual wealth. When you cultivate it, you live rich. Presence is the greatest gift. When you give it, relationships thrive. Your life is sacred. When you treat it so, every moment matters. Heaven is now. When you love and serve, you live divine. Every soul matters. When you treat others with respect, you honor life. Your blessings grow when shared. When you give, abundance multiplies. Love is contagious. When you spread it, the world brightens. Your faith writes your story. When you trust, miracles unfold. Your love is your signature. When you leave it, hearts remember. True joy is in giving. When you share freely, you live fully. You were born to shine. When you embrace your light, the world is better. The beauty of these lessons is that their impact is not temporary. It is permanent. Once you truly grasp them, they become a part of who you are, guiding your decisions and shaping your reality for the better. You'll find yourself navigating challenges with a wisdom you didn't know you had, all because you took the time to learn these truths just once. Which of these lessons had the most profound impact on you? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If this video helped you find a new perspective, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the Mind Shelf for more insights on how to live a more intentional and fulfilling life. Thank you for watching, and may you learn with purpose.